What if the alphabet is not what you think it is? Not a random collection of letters, not just a tool for communication, but a system, a structure, a code. You learned it before you understood it. ABC shapes repeated, sounds assigned, memorized, practiced, accepted, and then never questioned again. Welcome to Mysterious Encounters. Tonight we examine something so familiar. You stop seeing it, the alphabet, not as language, but as a system of symbols, a system that may have been designed, not just to express thought, but to shape it. Every letter is a shape, a form, a pattern, and patterns are never meaningless. They repeat, they evolve, they carry something forward. Look closely across ancient civilizations. Symbols begin to resemble each other. Lines, angles, curves, simplified, refined, passed down, from hieroglyphs to Phoenician markings, to Greek letters, to the alphabet you use today. It changed in appearance, but something remained. A structure, an order, a sequence that was preserved, not because it had to be, but because it was meant to be. Because letters are not just sounds, they are symbols, and symbols do not need to be read. To be understood, they bypass logic. They move through recognition, pattern, association. This is why symbols have always been used. To encode knowledge, to hide meaning in plain sight, to communicate without words. So what happens when your entire language is built on symbols? It means every word you speak is built from pieces that carry more than just sound. Meaning is not only in the word, it is in the structure, the arrangement, the pattern of the letters themselves. And once a system like that is established, it does more than communicate. It shapes perception. Because language defines boundaries, it determines what can be expressed and what cannot. If something cannot be simply described, it becomes harder to think about, harder to understand, harder to question. And if something can be described in a specific way, it begins to feel real, even if it is not. The alphabet is not just a tool, it is a filter, a way of organizing thought, a way of guiding perception, a way of structuring reality through symbols you never question. And once you learn it, it becomes automatic, invisible. You no longer see the letters, you only see the meaning, but the structure is still there, working beneath the surface, shaping how you interpret everything. This is why ancient systems of knowledge did not rely on simple language. They used symbols, geometry, patterns, because symbols can carry multiple meanings. At the same time, words are linear, symbols are layered, words tell you what to think. Symbols allow you to discover it. So what happens when a symbolic system is replaced with a structured alphabet? Clarity increases, but depth decreases. Meaning becomes easier, but also narrower. The system becomes efficient, predictable, controlled, and once thought becomes predictable. And once it becomes measurable, it becomes controllable. This is where the connection begins, because modern systems do not need to force control. They only need to understand patterns, your words, your searches, your inputs, all built from the same alphabet, all feeding into systems. The alphabet did not create control, to recognize but it made patterns, control easier, predict behavior, because it standardized thought, structured expression, simplified complexity. And once something is simplified, it can be tracked, modeled, predicted, but there is something the system cannot fully control. In places you are not meant to question, logos, icons, signals, patterns. You are still surrounded by symbols, you just no longer recognize them as language. So the question is not what the alphabet means, the question is what it replaced, what was lost. When symbols became letters, what depth was traded for clarity, and what control became possible. Once thought could be structured, because once you begin to see it, you realize something simple. You were never just taught how to read, you were taught how to interpret reality, And once that interpretation is set, everything you see passes through it, unless you learn to see beyond it, to recognize the symbols again, to understand patterns without needing them explained, to break away from the structure that was given to you. Because the alphabet is not wrong, it is just incomplete, and what it does not show you may matter more than what it does.